Talo for Lover, and welcome to the Global Bus Figure Success Podcast. I'm Andrew Fa'avali, your host. Every week I'll be chatting with successful Pacific people from across the globe, unpacking their stories and more importantly, picking out insights, lessons and golden nuggets you can use to live your best life too. Welcome to the Global Bus Figure Success Podcast. This week we've got Lana Carter on from Lavenia Law. She's based here in Brisbane but was originally from Wellington and has heritage to Samoan and Maori heritage. So we're here to talk about who she is and what she does, and looking forward to this chat. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. So Lana, you're from Welly originally?
Yeah, originally from Welly, more specifically Porirua.
Yeah.
More specific to that, Cannons Creek. I like to go that deep because I feel like if you're from Welly, you know, people are like, oh, Welly. But if if you're born and bred there, Porirua, and then you kind of get territorial in Porirua and you're like, no, I'm from the creek. Like, really good.
So tell us about the creek.
The creek, melting pot of everything that life, the good and bad of life, I suppose. Best place for me to have grown up.
Yeah.
Well, obviously had no choice, but when I look back, I think it really, growing up there, you got to be tough.
Yeah.
You really do. Like, you know, you're friends with people from all walks of life, including like gang affiliated.
Yeah.
Including church, you know,
yeah.
Christian people, including my nana who was at PIC, you know, like, so you get a good insight into like different walks of life, which I feel like really has cemented like who I am, and I'm really proud to come from there. A lot of people will shy away, well, not a lot, but I feel like that's my superpower, is like knowing where I'm from and being really proud of it.
Yeah.
And if you're from there, you had parents who went there for a reason, and my mum, you know, she came over from Samoa, couldn't really speak English, went to Porirua College, ended up meeting my dad who was living in Tite Bay, which is really different from Cannons Creek. It's near the beach.
Yeah.
So a little bit more bougie, but still like, you know, in the Porirua region. He's Maori, like fair skin, green eyed, and my mum's full Samoan, you know, dark skin, beautiful, but that was them. Met there, had us. We went to primary school out in Tite Bay because my grandma was out there. So all of those roots, you know, about knowing who you are and where you're from, is a big part of like what I carry with me and how I raise my boys, and you know how I approach my business, and all of that comes back from like those really grassroots upbringing.
Yeah, Porirua is an interesting place to me because when I first went there, I used to see like patch gang members with betters. You know what I mean? But you know, where it was like mostly Mongrel Mob and Black Power. That was mostly like Maori gangs, and then in Auckland, King Cobra and that were kind of birthed out of more Polynesian Panthers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wellington was a little bit different, and Porirua even more so. So, like, can you tell us a little bit more about that cultural tale coming from, you know, Maori and Samoan? It sounds like neither was either dominant, but how did that all marry up?
For me, like in my family?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, there was always that, you know, go to my mum's side, what's the Maori? You know, my mum's side, I would say, was more dominant, only because she was a really strong personality.
Yeah.
And she had her mum, my grandma, you know, in Porirua as well, who didn't speak English, so we had to speak Samoan, like we would get a hiding if we tried to speak English. So if we're talking, you know, dominancy, my mum's side was definitely more dominant. And then, you know, there's always a backstory as to maybe why that is. And my dad, he grew up without his biological father around. So, you know, the war, and like his dad was a sailor, had come over from England and had 3 kids, but wasn't really around.
Yeah.
So maybe that added to why Dad wasn't, you know, so pushy with his side of the culture. But in saying that, then you talk about, like, I don't know how deep we want to go, but my nana, his mum, really well educated woman, but was of that era where, because he went to boarding school in Hatupara, spoke fluent Maori, but would come back to Wellington and was told not to speak a drop of Māori. So we were kind of, and you know, because you don't get very far if you do, and you know, all of that, even though she and they spoke fluent Māori, and my first cousins on my dad's side, they were moko kauai, like they're really deep rooted in their Māoridom. So I often ask my dad these days, you know, why we lost that native tongue, I suppose, because I've often reflected and gone, man, it would have been awesome to be able to speak both.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and you know, that's probably a common story for people of Dad's generation, just that I suppose washing out of your native tongue. Whereas my mum was like, you're speaking Samoan regardless.
Yeah. So was there a little, what was it like living in both sides, Porirua East and then in the Bay? Because for people outside of Porirua, they don't really understand that, eh?
Yeah.
I was lucky to live there for a little while, and then I could see, man, I love going to the Bay, but I also love living in Waitangi.
I loved it. Like, I just feel like that's who I am, you know. And my cousins who lived in Whitby, like that's the upper, you know, like you've got a bit more coin if you're in Whitby, would tease us, you know what I mean? Like, so it was just the norm, but like I say, I feel like it's molded me into who I am. You know, I can walk into a room with anybody in there, you know, like CEOs or, you know, people who haven't gone through to higher learning, or like I just see people as who they are as a person, and I feel like that comes from knowing or like growing up with people from all walks of life.
Yeah, I think my line of questioning, because when I'm hearing it, I'm thinking there's heaps of intersections, and some of those could be clashing and crashing, but they all seem to work well together for you, eh?
Yes, I'm going to say short answer.
Yeah, short answer.
Short answer is yes.
But obviously there's like, it's a zigzag to get to
I mean, like I say, you've got to be tough to be from Porirua first of all, and then walk through all those, you know, other intersecting parts of life and family and yeah.
So what school did you go to?
I went to St. Pius, which is a primary school, Catholic primary school in the Bay, and then we went to Viard. Viard College, and then I got too naughty after school cert, and my mum shipped me off to St. Mary's in the city. Yeah.
And then growing up in Cannings Creek, did you always know you wanted to be something like a lawyer or go to university?
Look, I was pretty, like I was good when I was, like I didn't find schoolwork too hard. It was just a matter of like concentrating and being around the right crowd. So like that's what I mean about Porirua. Like, you know, it's hard. But did I always know? Not really. I think I didn't find schoolwork like boring or annoying. It was just staying focused. So maybe always had it in me, and I'm pretty sure it would have been my mum drilling it into me, like, you're going to uni. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. But it was her that said, you're going to uni and you're doing law. It wasn't really me going, oh, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. No. Yeah. I'm not naturally, like with most people, speaking isn't, that doesn't come, like I still find I get anxiety doing it, but then in saying that, if you ask anyone who knows me, they're like, yeah, but you're loud and you're, you know, you're confident. But it's interesting, hey, that people assume that lawyers are just really outspoken, confident people, but they are, there's all sorts of personality types, I suppose. So did I know? Look, it was always like, that's my path. Yeah. First daughter of, you know, my mum's first daughter, so she was like, yeah, you're doing it. And it was done.
So did you go straight through to law school, and did you enjoy law school, or how did it, because the motivation was, you know, really all, it was your mum's choice, but did it feel like it fit you as well?
Yeah and no, like I said earlier, I didn't find the work too hard. Yeah. But I was there for 6 years, so I did a double degree, which I liked. I liked that because I made sure I had a graduation 3 years into studying. Yeah. I feel like that.
I had to have a little win.
Yeah, it was like a win.
Not a little win, but a win.
Yeah, and looking back, it was good because then Mum wasn't actually able to be there for my graduation from law. So you know those things, those choices you make in life, and you look back and you go, that perfect timing or happen for a reason. Like, I'm a big believer in that.
What was the other degree?
Political science.
Oh, cool. So under arts?
Yeah, Bachelor of Arts.
Did that balance you out with the law and the...
Yeah, I liked it. It was really insightful, you know, people... I used to be quite vocal about what's happening politically.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Australia, and then I couldn't vote here.
Yeah.
And then I, you know, like quietened down a bit, but I still keep my finger on the pulse about what's going on politically, and I think having that good basis of knowing how laws are made went hand in hand with like doing law, but I also found that really interesting. So,
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So did you graduate and then practice in New Zealand and then come over, or what was the story?
Yeah, I did. I graduated, and my mum, being the way she was, like even though she was sick, because she came over, like I said, didn't speak an ounce of English, went to Porirua College, and she ended up working as a cleaner for years, and then I think when we were a bit older, she went to Polytech, which is the equivalent of, I think, TAFE here.
Yeah. And
she did some papers in accounting, and then she started working for ACT. Anyway, through that, she met one of the lecturers at the Polytech in Porirua, and was like, and he was an accountant and a lawyer.
Oh, cool.
And her having that vision, like before I'd even finished high school, that I'm going to be a lawyer, like approached him and said, okay, my daughter's going to be a lawyer one day. When she is, she's going to ring you and you're going to give her a job. And Bill, his name is Bill Bevan. He's really well known in Porirua. He's an amazing lawyer, an amazing person. So I did, like after uni, I called, like it was a community law centre, and he was the managing director there. So I called him and I was like, I don't know if you remember my mum, and he, you know, Ulavao. And he's like, of course I remember your mum. Yeah. She said I could come and work for you, and he's like, okay, come and work. And that was like the best decision I made, or she made for me, but it was the best to get that, have that be my first job, because man, like you're servicing people that you've grown up with, you know, in a really, at that community law centre level. And if you've ever worked or volunteered in a community law centre, you know you get like everything coming through the front door, and from people who can't afford to pay like a private lawyer. Yeah. So amazingly insightful in terms of how the law works in practice. And then Bill Bevan, being the amazing person he is, he let us spread our wings. And I love that, because then you've got a leader who backs you and tells you to back yourself. You know, so confidence, just in general, in life in general, but especially in the legal profession, I feel like that was such a gift, because, I was running cases in the district court across the road, appearing for people I'd gone to high school with, you know, on criminal matters. It was just, it was still one of the best jobs I've ever had.
So then your mum's informed your decision to go to law school, and then also your first role outside of law school. And, you know, rest in peace, we know your mum's not here, but you just want to talk a little bit about your mum? Yeah,
like, she always comes up, because she's a huge part of why I do what I do. She passed away when she was 44 years old, so she's really young. I was 19 at the time, and from the time she passed away of cancer. From the time she was diagnosed to the time she passed away, it was only a 6-month period.
Oh, it's quick.
Yeah, really quick. She declined pretty quickly. But of course, in, you know, true her style, just set, I mean, she'd done it since I was a really young girl, but just set us up with life lessons and along the way that made, I suppose she taught us how to live without her. That's a gift again, because although it's really hard all the time, 20 years this year she's been gone, but just how strong she was with just knowing who she was, and knowing what how seeing, I suppose, the potential in all of us from a really young age, and just instilling in us that you can be this. It was really like, you will be this, but if we're doing podcast style, like you can achieve. Amazing woman, just full of confidence, and really proud Samoan. Really proud Samoan.
Cool. So you're into your first job. Your mum's passed away by now, eh?
Yeah.
And so, what are you thinking about life at this stage?
At that stage, knew I didn't want to be in Porirua for much longer. Only because, a big reason was because my brothers were here. I've got 2 brothers and 1 sister.
Oh, yeah.
And the brothers were already here in Brisbane and doing really well, and would come over for trips. And we were all 4 of us we grew up really closely, really tight. So knew that we wouldn't be apart for too much longer. So made the decision after I think 3 years in practice to come over to Brisbane.
Cool. So when did you get here?
We got here I always get this wrong. 2012.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you land here.
Yeah.
Good decision, you reckon?
Yeah. Absolutely. No regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, landed here. We were able to. I was able to transfer my qualifications here. We've got that Trans-Tasman recognition of mutual qualifications. So, did that. Started practicing at the Public Trustee of Queensland. Yeah, and that was a lot. Like a lot of I know I don't want to be here, practicing for too long. The equivalent of the Public Trustee in New Zealand does not have the power that the public trustee here has. So it was really insightful because the public trustee here has such a long reach over people's lives.
Okay.
Such a powerful arm. So I say that because I think being there gave me insight into the way, and I was in the deceased estates team.
Yeah.
And then the litigate. So it gave me insight into how not being prepared or not having, the right documents in place isn't the best way to go. But that wasn't me going, okay, I'm going to step out and do my own thing and practice in this area of the law. But I think subconsciously maybe it guided me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, we can go to the public trustee thing, but I just want to stay at this point. So in Porirua, you were thinking you didn't want to stay there. And one of the motivations was to stay with you, connected to your family. Your brothers were already here, so you already had that. I don't know, what is it? I feel like a lot of people are in these places where they want to transition, but it feels like there's too many barriers, and some do it. We're all migrants here, including Derek, who's just coming over, who's in the room. But when we do it, it's like the best move for us. And then you've had that feeling again at the public trustee here in Queensland. What kind of process do you have to go from, okay, this isn't really where I want to be, to going to where you want to be, or where you think you want to be?
Right. Interesting. It was a given. Mum wasn't around. And if I go there mentally, like if you really want me to go as to like another driving factor as to why we moved, dealing with Mum's funeral and the fallout with family, not fallout, but it was a lot of tension between, from my point of view, family members, because we were quite young, but also me being me was really vocal and confident, and this is what Mum wanted, we're going to do it this way. So anyway, it was always on the cards that we were going to move, and even though my dad, he's still there to this day. We were living in the family home at the time, and it just didn't feel the same. But in any event, Mum she was never tied. She never tied us to Porirua. It wasn't like, she had us kids there, but she wasn't like, you're going to stay here and you have to.
But what about for you? You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people are on the edge of wanting to transition, whether it's in their career or even locations and stuff like that, but they don't actually make the jump.
Right. I'm really good at making a decision and just going with it. Yeah. If it's, that I say to people, the only people I'm loyal to are my family. Yeah. So that means job, that means anywhere I am, if it's not in my long-term goals to stay there, I'm really quick to jump out and do what's best for my family. So I think it wasn't a hard decision for me. Also, it was lifestyle here was really attractive. Obviously the weather, salary. I mean, I was working for peanuts. Porirua. I mean, the best thing, but you know, it was a no-brainer for me.
What about the public trustee? When you got here, it was like, this isn't really the role I want to be
Honestly, in the first week I knew I wasn't going to be there long term. It was safe. I had maternity leave there. If I'm being really transparent, like I stayed there, had my 2 boys there, and I was like, this is not good for me. It's not good for my career, because I felt like my confidence wings were getting clipped. Because you can imagine, like, it's a big machine, you've got these teams, you have to report to your manager, you're writing submissions, you're advising the government, right? So you're writing these submissions and the templates they like you to use, and then you'll submit them, not get feedback for a while, and then when you do, it's like change something minor. And it was really frustrating for me, because it's like, it's not going to change the substance of my argument or like my line of reasoning, but that was just this machine you had to. So coming from where I'd come from, where the manager was like, go to the courts and run your argument, you know, in front of judges, and you know, so that was just like, no, I don't want to be here long term. It was a really easy decision for me.
So was that about a public trustee and that environment, obviously, but also was it about you're kind of a natural entrepreneur?
Don't know about entrepreneur, but I know when I'm confident and like I know my stuff, and someone's telling me to do it this way, but it doesn't change the substance, I get frustrated, and then I suppose I'm not the best employee. So you know, like you can read my very funny. Like I'm so, you know, whatever I'm feeling, you can see it on my face. So I would just walk around rolling my eyes, like very funny in that environment. So then always knew I was going to do my own thing eventually, and I thought, I didn't realize it would be that soon and here in Brisbane, because I had 2 young boys at that time when I stepped out. But that was then my next move career-wise, was to open my own law firm.
And is that what happened?
That's what happened.
Oh, cool.
So I had 2 kids. Went on, was on maternity leave, and then I was at that crossroads of, do I go back to this safe job that pays well, you get good, everything, all the entitlements of being, a government employee, or do we take the risk and jump out on our own, back ourselves and go down that route? And a big part of that decision-making process was my husband backing me, saying, well, you've not liked this job for so long. Are you going to continue to do that and not be happy in your job and come home after, 12 plus hour days in the city? And so, weighing it all up, I was like, okay, again, it's back yourself, it's go out on your own.
Sweet. So then you jump out. That's exciting and scary and all those kinds of feelings, those mixed emotions that you got. What did you do? What did you do first?
What did I do first? I spent a year in the background schooling myself up on the latest changes in the legislation in that estate planning area. So I had opened I set all the business workings in the background up. I just hadn't I hadn't launched social media. Do you know what I mean? Connected with the right people. I'm part of a network of lawyers who meet every week to discuss, estate planning files or estate admin files. So I really got my confidence back up to go, okay, this is the area of law you're going to specialize in. You need to know everything there is, to know as much as you can, and just be connected with the right people. And so then, after almost a year of doing that, so kind of schooling again, I suppose, while being, while looking after the kids. And then launched in July, launched publicly, told everybody. That was a scary part. That was a really scary part, actually, I still remember. In July 2020, smack bang in the middle of COVID.
So can you just tell us about the scary part? The
scary part, this is your name on a business, you going out on your own as a lawyer, and there's the main insurance company for lawyers who say, you need to do A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. You need to have, and rightly so, because you need to know what you're doing, and so that you can service people properly. But there's all these reminders along the way, like Queensland Law Society, have you done this? Are you up to date with that? Have you done your CPD? Like all of those things that make you go along the way. Man, am I ready to do this? Is this really what I'm doing? But yeah, right through all those bumps and those confidence blips, I suppose, it became more and more clear that, yeah, we're doing this. We're absolutely doing this. There's really no other way.
There's another layer because you got your name.
Yeah.
So how did that feel?
Again, like that, you know how it is with Samoan culture. If you've got your parents around or your or elders around to confer with, to go, okay, this is my plan, I'm going to do this and that. You use that as like your counselling sessions, and they give you that like they always back you, right? Like they might give you a few bits of advice that, you know, I don't know. But I didn't have my mum there, and she's, you know, obviously, like, it has always been that constant with me, and if she says yes, then that's it. Like, there's no question. And because she wasn't around, I went to her sisters, and I said, oh, yeah, so my business name, Lavenia, is actually my middle name. So I could have used it and not asked, but my middle name is actually my maternal grandma's name, so my mum's mum.
Oh, yeah.
Who had passed actually 6 months after my mum had passed. So couldn't even ask her. But yeah, always knew that was going to be my name, but it was just getting that reassurance from the family that it's okay to use that name. I don't know. That was a part of the journey, yeah. But now, every time someone says it, I'm like, wow, that sounds beautiful. Like people say it really beautifully too. Here in Australia.
Alliteration too.
Yeah, and I do love alliteration. Like but even like hearing people say that name is just such a beautiful thing. It's a reminder to me every time that you're carrying your grandma's name.
So you got your aunties in there around giving you kind of the permission or cheering you on, and then you've got a group of lawyers.
Yeah.
So are they in legacy as well?
They all are, yeah.
So that's a little bit interesting because I've seen it on your socials.
Yeah.
Because you're all traditionally competing, eh?
Yeah, right.
But you're actually collaborating.
Absolutely,
How does that work?
Oh, it works beautifully. It works seamlessly. I feel like we're a new wave of lawyers, collaborative lawyers, lawyers who are just really willing to share their wisdom and experience. And typically, we are supposed to be in competition. We shouldn't really be talking to each other. We shouldn't, all these things, but we do, and it works. Yeah. And, I think behind every one of these business owners, and they all typically run their own law firms, and not just sole practitioners as well. Like some of them run really big law firms. Yeah. And still willing to share their experiences and resources. There's enough work to go around, know. And I feel like they've come from walks of life, or they've obviously got their own stories where they're running their businesses their way, and it's working. So yeah, I'm so glad I found them.
So then, shall we talk about the legacy planning, and then we'll talk about business, like your journey in business.
Yeah.
You've obviously got a personal motivation. Your mother passed away. It sounds like you, like most Pasifika thing, there's always dramas. Even at my dad's age, like,
really?
It was just a massive drama right now. My auntie's getting, my cousins are mourning, and I'm not sure what's going on, but you kind of get, is there going to be any drama? Because there's always the, but so.
And I don't. Do people talk about it with you on your podcast a lot? Or no, you probably don't talk about these things, but
not really. But my father's one put me off, man, because my uncle, who hadn't seen him for like 10 to 12 years, came and just called the shots, and I was like, we were like, all the kids and our extended family who were really close to, they were like, no, your mum's wishes are the most important. And I was like, yeah. So mum wants, because he had a brain aneurysm, so his body kind of had, it wasn't in a good state. So we were like, we just want to bury him. We can't wait for people from the States to come, and people who hadn't seen him for years and years, and I don't even know if we get about them. This is the woman who was by her side. My mum should have all the say. And then it just caused a massive drama, and in the end, we just had a drama. and which meant it was not a nice feeling. And my memories of my dad's funeral were kind of tarnished by that experience. So I think when you zoom out and have a look at it, like you said before, the hierarchical nature of our culture, like, you know, and then the whakmatai system and the respect thing and all the values that are embedded in our culture can go wonky and ori and then create this thing which is ugly. But unfortunately, it's like you only get one chance to honour
100%.
the memory of that person at that time. When I was growing up, Billy T, I love Billy T.
Really?
And you know, remember when Billy T's, you know, when Billy T's family had a drama over where he was going to get buried between the daughters, like the kids, and I was thinking, oh, that must suck, like, you know.
That would never happen. Yeah.
And then boom, man, like we're having an argument at my dad's funeral. So yeah, it's time. I guess the cultural differences in our thing, we're oratory, we've got high context communication where we're talking stories and parables and stuff, whereas in Western or English culture or in the English language, it's low context, it's explicit, expressed, black and white, you know exactly what they're going to do. It's probably something we can follow on from them and learn from.
Yeah, I mean, it's all learning, like, thank you for sharing.
Well, that's
your experience.
That's why I understand the rules.
Yeah, it's when it hits you like that, it stays with you. And it's such a tough battle when because our parents' generation, right? They're the first wave who came and settled in a country that wasn't theirs. So I feel like everyone's parents from that they're gonna deal with that in some way, shape, or form. And the good thing, I suppose, for us and where we sit, I suppose, in that line is that our kids are not likely, I'm not going to say never, to experience that because we've learned new ways, you know, we've interweaved the Western side a little bit more, and each to their own, but I still absolutely love our culture. Like, through all of that, there's so much more we learn and like our personalities develop in a way that wouldn't if it was just like, this is the will and this is the way, you know, because you're getting to have those conversations and like growing as a person to talk or stand up to your parents, siblings. It's such a tough place to be in, but I feel you so deeply on that because yes, one chance to honour, and it was the same thing. My dad, he was Maori, so he was like, oh, she told me she didn't want this, and then and he's not very vocal, like he's a really man of few words ish, but he just would not, like he always played that role in mum's family of like sitting at the back and you know, respect, and bam, when it's time to like call the shots, it was this real big tension. So I was the one who had to vocalize. So talk about the trauma it like creates, right? Like, and were you the one who had to?
Well, my brother's like our spokesperson, so he's got a better grasp on Samoan and Maori and all that. But so he was doing it, but you know, like my uncle was kind of, you know, even though he was kind of like, nah. So I just bust out too. I had it, but I just bust out with in English and pretty disrespectful terms from what they could see. But
that was me too.
So I just bust out and just said, nah, get out, stuff you guys, like, and that's a nice way of doing it. Like, my mum's first, and I don't care what your culture says, and I don't care what your protocols say. My mum was there when he was sick, because he got early onset dementia. My mum was there when he was not sick, and during that time, he was a great dad and that, but he was a mean dude as well, you know what I mean? So she was with him through thick and thin, and she should have the say, man.
100,
Go away. Just sort out your own one.
I feel like they know, like in the end.
But how are you going to play power trips at a funeral?
Well, that's where they do it. Funerals, weddings, like it's those big.
That's where we see, you know, and we're not bagging the culture.
No, not at all.
But there's a risk. There's a risk to it because of it's such a pivotal time. And apart from him, everyone was in agreement, and we were all happy until he arrived from Australia. and then to New Zealand, and we were like, oh no. Then we used to see his van pull up, and like, everyone was happy, yeah, and then the heart dropped, and we're like, flip, he's here, and then everyone's running away.
And then you're like,
yeah.
you're like in the
I don't
like
do the hours, and all of a sudden I'm trying to look for a knife to do the fuzz, and I just get cramps. Yeah.
No, it's a thing. It's a thing. I mean, and it's not something people like to talk about, but if you've lost a parent and you're from a cultural background, you've definitely experienced this at some level, you know. And us being vocal people, we are the, you know, whippies who like piped up and said something when maybe in that hierarchical system we weren't supposed to, but you were probably feeling your dad coming through just being like, nah, you need to stick up for your mum. Because then we as kids protect our parent and go, well, yeah, same thing, you weren't there. Yeah. All of a sudden you're here and you're trying to make decisions that we know don't suit.
So how does a will sort this out for those of us who don't know?
So your will is where you document really important things. Yeah. The executor, so the person who steps into your shoes and carries out your wishes. Really important role. Really, it's quite a big role depending on, you know, what's going on, but they're your spokesperson, I suppose, if we put it that way. They sign all the paperwork they need to sign, they bring in all your assets, then they distribute everything. Then you're appointing another key role, especially if you've got kids, you know, who are under 18, so minors, guardians for those children. Yeah, thanks. If you don't, anyone from the family can pipe up and say, I think I'm the best person. You know, if we play that scenario out again, not likely, or could just go to somebody who you never wanted it to go to. And then obviously you in your will you appoint your beneficiaries, so the people that get your estate, you know, your assets, how it's to be divided to them, what percentage you want them to have. If they're minors, what age you want them to come into that money that you're leaving them. So really important things, right? You know, you've worked so hard your whole life to accumulate what you have asset-wise, and you want the right people to be appointed to control those things, and also the right people to be getting those things, as opposed to people coming and telling the spouse you've left behind in a really vulnerable state, you know, emotionally, all of that, what to do. And I've seen a lot of people fold under that kind of pressure, you know, okay, I will do this. And then you talk with them 10 years later, they're still regretting that decision that they made because it was made in a time where they're not at their best. So you taking control of that narrative is, I suppose, my key message is just you're in control of doing this. And I don't say this lightly, but I feel like it's your responsibility. Yeah. It's not just please do it, make it nicer for your family. No, it's a responsibility you have to your family to put these things in place. Yeah. Okay. So you know, you've mentioned well prior to the podcast, know what you own and how you own it. What I think is the blind spot is because sometimes people can think they don't have much wealth or they don't have many assets. But the blind spot here in Australia especially is that super bit and that life insurance bit, that there's money sitting in there and not many people know about it. And then that goes to the other point that you as a legacy lawyer have to know such a vast amount of stuff like super, you know, wealth creation, asset protection, all these kinds of things. So can we just go into that? I think that there's a big market out there who don't know what's in their super. Huge. Including the life insurance. Yeah. If you are, a majority of you will be there sitting going, I cannot afford to do a will. I always say, go and look at your superannuation statement. Look at the balance of your super that you keep ignoring because you feel like, I think people go super, retirement, like too hard basket, I'll just leave that. Not only your superannuation balance, look within the statement whether you have life insurance or death cover. Sometimes it's called death cover life insurance. Yeah. In Australia, they don't play. It's a lot of money. Massive. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you've ever worked in Australia, honestly, you need a will. That's, you know, people go, oh, what age do we need a will? Anyone who's got superannuation needs to at least have had a conversation with a estate planning lawyer to just put a strategy around super. Yeah, so we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars as a default life insurance. And you can play around with that number, you know, if you want to. So what working with an estate planning lawyer does, it just gives you confidence to pick up those statements, if nothing else, you know what I mean? And go, oh, it's a couple of $100,000 I'm leaving behind.
That's right.
Let's put a tidy plan in place as to how that's divided. You know, who it goes to, who controls that money. If you don't, then the super fund will decide who it goes to, you know. Because there are default laws that kick in if you don't have a will. The Queensland government has got a default set of laws that say, if you don't have a will, that's fine, we'll give you a plan. Here is the plan. If you don't have your superannuation binding death benefit nominations in plan, that's okay. The super fund will give you the plan. And that plan, honestly, is not typically what most people want to happen.
Okay, can we double down on just that then, the binding nominations?
Yeah.
So can you just explain that and explain what you recommend that people do?
Yeah, so most people, even though they don't care about super, have done these nominations, right? Or they've done a type of nomination. Without getting too technical, there's two different types of nomination. One is a non-binding. What that means is the super fund, you know, if it's Q Super, for example, they've got a trustee of that fund, so the person who manages all the money in that trust fund. They, with a non-binding, simply have to look at that form, look at the people on that form and say, I will consider them when I am making my decision as a trustee of this money, where to pay it. So it's not full control, right?
Yeah.
A binding death benefit nomination is, to put it simply, it's the form you print out and you have two witnesses sign, like you sign and then you have two witnesses witness your signature. That is a binding death. So that is something the super fund, the trustee of the super fund has to abide by, if it's right. And this is where people get a bit, it can go astray. So people put names in there and percentages, not knowing there is a really strict group or small group of people who can take from super. Because the whole point behind super is it's for your retirement, and if it's not for you accessing in your retirement, then it's for people who are dependent on you financially. And that definition is what it is. Like, it's not me putting my niece who I love dearly and I, you know, down for 10% because she's, you know, I love her. That won't happen. The super fund will not honour that wish.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you've named somebody, even if it's in a binding death benefit nomination, who isn't a person that doesn't fit that definition, the whole form then becomes invalid.
And then it's back to non-binding?
And it's back to the super fund will decide who gets your money.
Yeah, so it's essentially it's about control.
Very much about control. You know, I say it a lot. Putting these papers in place is you controlling what you own, right? You know what you own first of all. First of all, you'll go and look at your super statement, you'll see the balance, you'll see life insurance. Okay, that's what's coming to my estate if something happens to me. Knowing what you own, and then controlling it is getting the right advice around how to make sure it goes to your loved ones.
Because on a broader lens, I think it's like when people say, if you don't have a plan for your life, other people have a plan for it. And then that kind of sometimes means an entrepreneurship thing, like you'll be working for someone else and they'll be getting you to do things that actually contribute to their vision. So that's in life. And then in death, it's the same. If you don't have a plan for your life insurance that's batched into your super, the government will
step in.
And they make the plan for you until you get it binding and rightly binding.
Yeah, rightly binding. And you need advice around rightly binding because people have so many different relationships going on. You know, they've got blended families. Some people are still married but are in a relationship with someone else. They don't realise the legal implications of how paperwork like that can become invalid or, you know, maybe not something that will be followed through with. So yeah, it gets really technical when it comes to super and the definitions of financial dependence.
Cool. So for more information, lavenialaw.com.au. Get some information.
Yeah, just reach out. Like, I'm so happy to talk about this topic to anybody who will listen.
Yeah, cool.
You know, like, give me a call. We've got I have free 20-minute, discovery calls with people that they just want to get over that line of knowing why it's worthwhile them putting these documents in place.
Yeah.
Everyone knows they need them. I feel like that's the bottom line, but it's like, sometimes I wonder what it is. Like, is it a psychological block? That'll be a big thing because they think we're talking about death, or they're going to, what's the word? When you think you're going, like if you do something, it's going...
You don't jinx yourself.
Jinx yourself. Gosh, such a complicated word, that one. I think sometimes they think that, but also, it's just... I don't know. I'm stuck on why when I see the mess that is.
I reckon it's those three things.
Yeah.
It's the psychological thing. Yeah. It's the uneasiness of talking about death and and confronting the reality of what will happen for those who are left behind. They don't want to think about it, even though they should, and we should. And then the third one is maybe the financial. They don't understand return on investment.
That's true.
Because sometimes they cannot see, even if they don't have wealth in their bank, they've got wealth in the super. But if you've got wealth in your super, plus you've got wealth in your bank, it's a no-brainer.
Plus you've got a house.
Yeah.
Plus you've got to invest. Yeah, so I think people dial down what they're worth. Yeah. Especially if they haven't worked with like a financial coach or anyone in the financial world. Yeah. Which, if you're working with me and you need that, I will typically go, okay, this is out of my realm, you need to connect with the right person in financial. And people don't realise a few things. They don't realise the super part. They also don't realise you can hold life insurance inside super and outside super, so it doesn't have to just be inside super. They don't realise how they own a home. Yeah. Especially if they own it with someone else, they don't realise there's different ways of owning, a property. Once they do, so I feel like you just take that step and ask the questions, and even if you don't get your will done, know what you own, how you own it. I think eventually you'll get to, okay, now I see the return on investment and dropping, what it costs to get these documents done, because that's why that word control comes back so often when I talk to people. It's like, know where things are going. You can control that. I think people go, we're working so hard, we're accumulating all these assets, it'll go to the right people, not really realising it doesn't always happen that way.
Alright, so that's legacy and estates and wills and stuff. What about business? How's business going for you?
Yeah, good.
On the branding and stuff, and you're branding personally, you're doing your social media, you're into business. How's it going, and what's been the challenges and what's been the wins?
The challenges is being a one-person show, is being all of the things. Yeah. Good and bad. Like I do love learning new things, so I've found there's good facets in doing that. But then again, if my website has something on it that is incorrect, I am the one going in the back end changing it. But then I say, okay, well, I always tend to see, like if I'm in a bad situation, I'll tend to flip it and see like the good side of things. So everything I say that sounds bad, I keep going because I'm like, no, there's a positive to this. So also invoicing, I am, accounts as well. So it's not bad, it's just the tough side of business that you do not realise needs to be done until you're in there doing it. Now being, I suppose, 2 years post, launch, I'm growing to the point where now I can see there's potential to like bring someone on to help me with these things. And then I have to look inside and go, okay, you've got control issues, because why is it so hard for you to bring someone on? So there's all these like inner learnings that happen as a business owner, and you would know, but you really don't know what you're made of until you've thrust it into those decision making intersections, I suppose.
What have been some of the wins from taking the leap?
So many wins. It's the best thing I've done in my career. Awesome. Absolutely. Like there's no turning back. I've connected with amazing people like yourself. sharing in these conversations to try and encourage others to see, you know, how talented they are as well. The flexibility to do, you know, I've got 2 young boys. They are definitely a priority.
Yeah.
Like before business. And that's some people, like that's just where I am in my journey. They're young. I pour a lot of time into them. I drop them off. I'll go to their thing, you know, their concert, and I roll my eyes saying that because I'm sitting there going, like, this is just the part of life that we just, like, I'm just trying to soak up, because before you know it, they're going to be gone. So I see my business working alongside that and growing with as they grow, because the plan is when they're at high school and not wanting to hang out with me anymore, not wanting to give me goodbye kisses anymore, you know, like have to drop them off at the front of the school away from everyone, that's when I probably feel the time to go hard. Yeah. You know, for now it works for me. You know, and that's another thing about being in business and talking to different people, is that you can do business your way, you know, and law your way, or whatever industry you're in, you can do it the way you want to do it. You don't have to be bringing in millions of dollars. I like to push that conversation, because, you know, business comes in all shapes and forms. Yeah. And right now, for me, I'm probably the poorest lawyer in Brisbane, but I'm really happy in what I do. No, I joke, but it's money is not everything, right? Yeah. You know, and I know once I do pull the trigger and go, okay, we're going all in, this is, it's on. Yeah, it's on. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it feels like you got the balance, because you still get out there and exercise. I still see you doing, like, what do you do? Powerlifting, or do you do, what is?
Yeah, well, my favourite is powerlifting.
Oh, yeah.
But then I do a bit of Olympic lift, so, you know, cleans and jerks.
No.
Oh, so it's like, they say Olympic, but only because, you know, that's the lifting that is in the Olympics, you know, Ollie lifting. So the power cleans and jerks. Yeah. I love working out. I've always, I've always been a bigger woman, but I've always been fit and strong. Oh, cool. You know, like, loves to eat, but also loves to work out, and I won't change that. You know, I think it's just part of my therapy, I suppose. Is lifting. I think you start to know yourself internally in a different way when you're battling with the weights. Like, I highly recommend lifting weight, 100%. Yeah, over cardio. For sure.
I'm not trying to choose here. I'm just trying to get started with something.
Just do weights. Like, just do the 3, you know, deadlift, bench, squat.
So how did you get into that?
It's funny. So I grew up playing sports always. So I've always played team sports though. Yeah. Super fun, and I feel like that's a big part of life. Like, I'll make my boys do team sports. Yeah. Not necessarily rugby, because anxiety around tackling, but just team sports. You get to know yourself. You get to know, you know, how to navigate through different personalities. Anyway, after kids, I had a really bad back. So in childbirth, not to get into too much detail, but my tailbone was injured from their Samoan bodies. Anyway, I couldn't even do a body weight squat. Like, I couldn't even. It was that bad. So I just kept plodding away. We had a home gym. Like, my husband's always worked out, and he set up like a squat rack. Oh, cool. Yeah, all sorts in the garage. So I'd just go in there and slowly but surely just kept increasing my weight, and then just became into it. Like, I wouldn't say addicted, because I can not go to the gym for a long time, which is actually what's happened in the past couple of years. So I'm just starting back on my Fitspo journey.
Oh, sweet. So what's next?
Next for everything?
For everything.
Next is, well, I've got a vision to open up my own office.
Awesome.
Yeah. When that happens, I'm not sure. It will happen, because I've put it out in the universe, so I know it will. I feel like that will just add an extra element to my business that I think people want and need, is that, So that's on the cards. Keep doing what I'm doing. Like, keep learning, you know, keep being around other business owners, keep getting new ideas about how to do things. I've got this idea to collaborate with like artists, because the legal documents I put out are so boring. Like, they're black and white. They're just typical legal documents, and I've got this vision to have like different cover pages that people can choose from amazing artists. So that's on the cards as well.
Kind of like those birth certificates.
Yeah, okay.
You can, you know what I mean?
Oh yes,
you
yes.
Can choose
you
the
choose
standard
that
one, and
one.
then you can choose the
There you go. That's it. But cool.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, much of the same really.
Yeah.
Like, that's just me generally. That like.
How are the kids? How are the boys?
How old? They're 10 and 8.
Oh yeah.
They're at a cool age.
Yeah,
really cool.
My girls are 10 and 8.
Oh yeah, you've got.
I got 4, but 10, 8, almost 6 and 2. But you're starting to have good convos with the older two.
Yeah,
starting to make meaning and
yeah.
Cool,
it's really cute because they're so different.
Yeah. So in terms of people, like a lot. When I started this around COVID, it was around people who I was meeting and talking to who were like on their edge, and they knew they had stuff to contribute. They just didn't know how to turn their IP into a business, and then they didn't know. And then there was also the fear factor of jumping out and starting it. What would you say to those people?
Look, I would say if you've got that burning desire or that voice that keeps niggling away at you, that is like your destiny, or that is like your calling, right?
Yeah.
With me, I don't have any qualms, like I've said earlier about jumping out. I tend to put myself in scary situations.
Yeah.
I put myself around people who are doing better than me, on paper, or, with the initials after their, name. But I do that because I know I can learn from them. So like I say to everybody, I am a student of life. Always have been. Be a student of law, or be a student, as in every facet of my life. It's uncomfortable, but with that comes growth. It's like you're just constantly peeling the layers of who you are, who you think you are, I suppose, and it's like learning about that along the way. So I would say feel the fear and do it anyway. Because I don't think the fear goes away. I don't think the imposter syndrome goes away. I don't think there is anybody who is really successful that anybody looks up to that doesn't have days where they question themselves, that doesn't have days where they feel like, am I worthy enough to be talking on a podcast, or doing the things I do. So I'd say back yourself, just do it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a theme or thread that's going through this conversation, because I've always thought from the end back.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so on your deathbed, which is kind of like that part where you start the legacy.
Yeah, right.
What are you going to think about if you don't empty the tank, if you don't make that leap? I think that kind of regret will be the worst.
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, and I read books about this all the time, where people are on their deathbed, literally, or like there's authors who have like collated people who have been on their deathbed and said, what are the top 5 or 10 things? And a lot of it comes back to doing what you want to do. Like, I say, if there's a calling for you to jump out of your job and do something in a skill set that you actually know you're good at, Because the thing is, right, the world is not going. I know so many amazing, talented people who sit dormant, they're in the peripheral, and some of them want to be, but a lot of times if you talk with them one-on-one, they're like, oh, I could do this, I could do it. I'm like, you should be. You absolutely should be. So I feel like it takes a certain personality type to take the leap, though.
Yeah, but I just want to say this, especially about Porirua, because we're going back to Porirua, because when I transferred from.
Wait, where in Porirua did you go?
I was in Waitangiroa.
Okay, so you know where the creek is.
Yeah.
Like we're neighbours.
Yeah.
There's just the one street. Yeah.
Mungavin.
Yeah.
So, but and I've said this to Derek too. So before I lived in Porirua, because
how long were you there?
I was I lived in Wellington. Well, I did from the 3rd and 4th year of law over there. Yeah. But I actually failed my 3rd year, so I did 3 years. Yeah. But I originally lived in Johnsonville in a unit, and then I went to a uni hostel on the terrace.
Cool.
Yeah, and stayed with a Thai guy and an Indo guy, and then I moved out to my cousins in Lungana Ave.
No way.
Yeah, all in that street. So at that time, I also got loaned and I played rugby at Porirua and then for Horopinua Kapiti. So I knew a lot of Porirua dudes.
Yeah. So I'm not laughing at you.
No.
I'm learning.
But what I wanted to say was like before that I had lived in Brisbane, I was in Auckland, and I had travelled already, and I went to Porirua and then I came away, and I thought out of all the places I've been to, these are the most talented dudes I know.
They are, right.
Yeah. So they used to go on, play rugby like animals, and they'll come off and then they'll go into barbershop. Like we'd be having a party and then there'll be barbershop stuff like that.
Best parties ever happen in Porirua.
And then there'll be, and then I wouldn't go to uni. I'd go to the pools and we'd play sport like there was the slide and the little net, and we'd play all those kinds of games. But they were just too casual about it. I was like, man, do you actually know how
talented you are?
You probably need to leave Porirua to see. And so even Auckland, I'm from Auckland, but I would say to my mates up there, you haven't seen these people down there. These guys are amazing.
The kids in Porirua are so talented, really humble, but I don't know. And it's the same with Auckland too, but
no,
different breed. Like we always made that a point though. Like it's a thing, right?
But the talent in Porirua was ridiculous. But also then, and this is because I'm an outsider, I also really heard a lot of stories about knowing people who had suicide. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I didn't know how deep you wanted to get, but there's a lot of trauma that sits in Porirua as well.
It's a really interesting place.
Oh, there's so much trauma. And I feel like from that breeds this talent because you're either, like you just have to deal with life. Like we would walk home and it was scary to, like you had to fight on the way home. No, like I'm not even joking, you have to fight for yourself there. Because we come from homes where violence is just a normal thing. And so then you put us all together as kids navigating the world. And, I feel like a lot of talent comes from those like closed bedroom doors. Like you're just in there, you don't want to walk outside because there's a lot happening with mum and dad in the living room. So you're in there like, there's a guitar, like best musos, like you say, best vocal, and then all sorts of musos. And the best parties, I always say this,
best parties
ever, garage parties in Porirua. Like, okay, I'm going to sound like an egg for saying that, but you also see people, just come out of their shell and shine. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that, unspoken of trauma, or where people haven't healed enough to be confident to take that leap. Because confidence is a big thing, but that word itself is so loaded because a lot of people probably say to you, you're confident, right? And they say to me, I'm confident, and
we don't really feel that.
I don't really feel that every day, but I think we've probably dealt with enough things. I don't know how to speak. I have dealt with enough things that I've gone through to look at it and go, okay, well, I'm that, but I'm also all these other things.
Because in Porirua, I was a student, so I'm not making much money, right? But then my mates who I played rugby with, like they lived on like down the road, so I would wake up and they were on my bed. They were like at the end of the bed playing the guitar, and they'd say, "Also, we bought you 2 pies and $1 fizzy." And that's what I'd wake up and I think, man, this is cool, and that, but at the end of the day,
they've got no money, but they're still giving it back to you.
And we're eating pies and drinking fizzies first thing in the morning. And then we're going to go play down at the pools. But we actually should be adults and have jobs. You know what I mean? But it was fun
but there's
for
no
me.
judgment.
Yeah, but it was fun for me. Like then I left. You know what I mean? And I wonder if they still buy pies, my boys.
Pies will always be in demand.
But you know what I mean? Like, anyway, that's what I mean. Like,
that's like most of the people from there. They're a different type. They're so
kind,
giving,
and,
with nothing. They've got nothing, but they're giving. It's just a different part of the world.
So we'll see. I don't know where we go from there, but what do you reckon for Maori and Pacific people anyway in our part in the world? Lately I've been quite public in saying, there's no better time to be alive. For Maori and Pacific people, the internet and stuff, like one of our care leaders is like 26, owns like 4 houses and day trades and stuff like that.
Part, I'm tripping out on these young people on owning multiple properties, but here for it.
So what do you say to Māori Pacific people? And what's our potential to wrap us up?
Oh, so loaded. I have that thing about talking on behalf of such a big group.
No, not on behalf, but like, what's your take on the state of play and where's the opportunities for us?
Yeah, I feel like, especially Māori,
Yeah.
I feel like we've always, and just, this is only one statement I can make, right? Like, we've always been ahead of the game and knowing out how wrong we were. And so then we've been, like, more vocal, you know, in comparison to First Nations people here. Like, we've had that acknowledgement, not that it's where it's supposed to be, but from that, I feel like our generation, or and everyone after, I suppose, my dad's generation, just go there, have been able to come into themselves more and be vocal about who they are and what they stand for. This morning, I went to the gym and I saw a lady at the reception in Springfield at a big gym with a moko kauai.
Oh yeah, cool.
And I was like, cool. Like, she's new, but I was taken aback, but I was like, cool, they would put someone on the front desk here with that, you know, beautiful moko. So yeah, I'm with you on it's the best time to be alive, but also, you know, just the confidence element. I feel like we still need more of that, you know, just backing ourselves and also banding together to back each other is, if you're feeling like you're on that edge of don't I, probably need to talk to more people who are like positive and doing it, and that's all you need to kind of get that extra push. Don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, and that's probably a practical way, and that's probably what you've done. It's shown what you've done. I think with your story, you know, it's really centered around family, and your experiences with family, and now you're here with your husband and your 2 kids, and you're here to leave a legacy. You want us to leave a legacy, and you're all about it, so that you've come, and obviously we've engaged you for our will, and we've had you here in our organisation to talk to our people. Any last, or maybe I'll just say, if you had a track that was like the soundtrack of your life, what do you reckon?
No.
Yeah, one.
Don't.
Just one.
No, I love music so much. It's so hard.
Okay, 2.
No. I need to prepare for this. No. Of my life.
Yeah.
I'm a huge rap fan, just FYI. So there would be a rap song in there somewhere.
Which one?
Oh.
You're gonna think you're gonna regret this.
Oh yeah, now my lawyer mind's on. Like I'm overthinking everything.
Yeah,
Please don't. I'm gonna regret it. No, I'm not choosing because I'm gonna regret it.
But isn't it a timestamp of what you said right there and right then?
What?
Oh, we could get you to say it later. But what are you saying right now?
No, there's not one song running through my head.
Okay, so if you had like 3 people come to dinner, who would it be? Who would they be?
Like. These questions are so bad for
We're trying to find out.
Oh, okay. Who would they be? Well, I definitely have to have my mum at the head.
Yeah. Because
whoever else I bring, she will like bring the heat with the questions.
Yeah.
Andrew, this is so loaded. I don't know why Barack Obama's like popping out. I think I've just watched a Netflix series about him.
Okay.
Find him really interesting and cool. Like he's got that cool street presence, but also so intellectual. So probably him, not Michelle. No, love her, but who else? I don't know. Who would you?
No, so I'm asking questions.
And then I'll probably have maybe Elvis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Is that weird?
No, it's cool. And those are your answers. So that's us. Thanks so much for having me. I know you wanted to push back, but I was trained as a lawyer too, so I'm not gonna you're not gonna out-lawyer a lawyer.
No, but who would you? Just out of interest.
My dad, Bob Marley.
Oh, see, this is annoying. See what?
No. See, my dad, Bob Marley, and Jesus. That's
oh wow.
Oh wow. Yeah. The lights came on.
Yeah. Wow. He's here.
Yeah. So. Right, well that's us.
That's cool.
Thanks for coming along, really appreciate it. It sounds like like I was saying, family's at the centre. I'm so interested. I reckon we could unpack more Samoan and Maori and
Yeah.
Porirua and
Porirua could be a whole...
the exact side of Porirua, but you're also from the Bay.
Yeah,
and now you're in Ipswich area in Brisbane.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, right.
that, how do you reconcile all that, and what are all the threads that come out of that? Your children are 10 and 8, and they're going to leave a legacy brought up by parents who, you know, obviously care so much about them and have made a move for a purpose. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for feeding and helping us with our life, but also our legacies. And just wish you all the best with your business and your family, your fitness inspo, social media and all that. And we'll leave show notes for where they can find you and follow you. But thank you.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Cool. That's us.
Cool.